everybody, and welcome to the Mind of Marlin and another treetop talk here at the sweet spot. The ducks are fed, the chickens are fed, and now it's time to feed your head. There's a lot of people, both wearing blue and red stripes, who saw the events at the Capitol coming. The blue stripes saw it coming because they've been listening to what Donny Boy's been saying from the moment he slid down the escalator. Mexicans are rapists. Sounds inflammatory to me, but apparently not to some red stripers. Blue stripers saw it coming because they heard DT say, "Knock the crap out of them and I will pay your legal fees." Sounds inflammatory and violent to me, unless you are a red striper and thinks that making America great again means beating other people up. Blue stripers saw it coming when white supremacists marched in Charlotte chanting, "Jews will not replace us." That is inflammatory, violent, racist, unless you're a red striper who glorifies 6MWNE, which, by the way, stands for 6 million was not enough, referring to how many Jews were slaughtered in Nazi Germany in your parents' lifetime. Take a look at how they advertise this. This graphic tee is also great for Mother's Day. What kind of mother would wear that except a motherfucker? This t-shirt makes a great gift for any quote shirt, funny saying shirt, funny dating and relationship shirt, practical Christmas, birthday, Father's Day, husband, partner, coworker, teacher, boss, drinker who loves a good laugh. Ha ha! It's killing me, but not like the Nazis killed the Jews. Blue stripers saw it coming when synagogues and churches were attacked by more white, we have a serious complex, supremacists. Those incidents were inflammatory, violent, anti-Semitic, and deadly, unless, of course, you're a red striper who never attends church because they know you can die there from a mass shooter. Blue stripers saw it coming when a man murdered Latinos in Walmart in El Paso. That was inflammatory, violent, deadly, racist, xenophobic, unless you're a red striper and think if Walmart didn't want us to shoot the place up, they wouldn't be selling us firearms. Blue stripers saw this coming when a man sent 20 pipe bombs to various politicians with the intent to do harm. That is inflammatory, potentially violent, delusional terrorism, unless you're a red striper who thinks that they were talking about pipe bongs. And this guy was going after Robert De Niro, who probably thought, "You mailing to me? You mailing to me?" Blue stripers saw this coming for 4 years because they were paying attention to what our commander-in-chief was saying and the implications of his words. Blue stripers had the capacity to think ahead and understand causal effects. What we hear programs us. We learned as children, look both ways before you cross the street. Any of you stop doing that as an adult? No, because you love living, and that's one dictum. That, look both ways, not just look one way and hope for the best. Because when you cross the street, that first one, look both ways, still works pretty well. But hate speech is the breeding ground for violence. And it works great. This country has a history of things like Ku Klux Klan, Proud Boys, Boogaloo, neo-Nazis. So why is this a we didn't see this coming moment? Blacks didn't lynch white folks, now did they? Because when it comes to the ugliness about our country, we don't look both ways. We look straight ahead and hold the myth that God is on our side. Pence, here showing how big his mouth has to be open to kiss Trump's ass, actually said, and I quote, "Violence never wins." If that was the case, why do we spend billions and trillions of our taxpayer dollars on military equipment? If the whole point is to let white extremism get out of hand and to obfuscate and misdirect by pointing the finger at BLM or radical Islamism, then the possible hidden agenda would be to create even more force and more militarization of our police, to keep the peace. White extremists would love martial law because they have all of the toys to play that game. Violence never wins. That doesn't stop its use to intimidate others into submission. Violence is not the answer. Otherwise, it would have shown up in jeopardy. In the words of Isaac Asimov, violence is the last act of the incompetent. And clearly, the day MAGA marchers overran Congress, which could have very easily turned into the same bloodbath on the scale of Las Vegas, there was a lot of incompetence at the Capitol that day. In Trump's words, on both sides. According to a 2019 study by the Anti-Defamation League, from 2009 through 2018, the far right has been responsible for 73% of the domestic extremist-related fatalities. But the Red Stripers didn't see it coming, unless, of course, you're one of those people who've been tracking and participating in online extremist groups. Trump had 2,200 Facebook ads using the words invasion, and one man, echoing Trump's words, killed more people in El Paso in one day than all the soldiers who died in Afghanistan that year. I'm surprised he didn't try to rename it Fascist Book. I know people think that this is no different than the BLM protests. Well, you didn't see anybody dressed up like this at the BLM protests. BLM had 12 to 15 million people in America marching alone, and marches in 60 countries across the globe, marching for the injustice done on the killing of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and other blacks at the hands of police. MAGA's assault on the Capitol was in the tens of thousands, and 5 people died. Nobody in other countries marched because of Trump's claims, because their cause, the MAGA cause, was based on a falsity that the election was rigged because Trump said it was rigged, and of course they believe him. They send him money, even though he's a billionaire. They believe him when he said the election was stolen. They believed him when he said you have to fight to take your country back. So, what's the way forward? We get Trump to do a video. The guy will do anything for money, including sell out his country, where he says, "You have not been paying attention to the man behind the curtain, the one pulling the levers and turning the knobs to create the mighty and powerful Oz that delivers the shock. You believe me, you trust me, and I have one last request of all of you. Put all of your guns and ammunition into red paint and let them soak there overnight. Let it dry to the touch. Now your guns will be red to match your MAGA hats." Of course, he has to say it many, many, many times so it sinks in like the red paint. One of the two things will happen. They will do it and ruin their guns at the behest of their leader. Or they will draw a red line with all that red paint in the sand and say, "I will give up Trump before I give up my gun." Which, at least, is a place to start. Thank you very much, everybody. Aloha. Stay safe. See you next time.